You know what is up there. This is the difference between you and the firefighters who came in April. They did not know. They climbed the roof because someone told them there was a fire, and they went to fight a fire. They had no reason to doubt the category. Fire is fire. You go to it. You do your job. You know what is up there. You have been briefed. You have sat in the tent at the edge of the exclusion zone with 30 other men in military reserve uniforms, and a colonel has explained the situation with the specific economy of a military briefing. Facts delivered without decoration, numbers given without context, as if the numbers speak for themselves and do not require the additional weight of what they mean for the person receiving them. The roof of Reactor Unit 3 is covered in radioactive debris from the explosion of Unit 4 in April. Robots were sent first. German robots, Japanese robots, Soviet robots. The robots moved across the roof and collected debris and stopped working. The radiation destroyed their electronics. The most sophisticated machines available to the Soviet Union failed within minutes. The radioactivity on that roof is not compatible with any electronics that human beings have yet built, so they are sending you. You will have 90 seconds. In 90 seconds, you will receive the maximum radiation dose considered acceptable for a lifetime of work in nuclear environments. In 90 seconds, you will do what the robots could not do. You will pick up a shovel. You will throw what you can throw. You will come back down. You will never go up again. The colonel is looking at you. You nod. You know what is up there. You go anyway. This is a story about a decision made with full knowledge, not the operator who pressed a button he had been trained to trust, not the firefighters who climbed a roof without knowing what was on it. The liquidators were different. The liquidators were the people who came after, who were told enough to understand what the work would cost them, and who did the work anyway. Between 1986 and 1990, approximately 600,000 people worked as liquidators at Chernobyl. They came from every part of the Soviet Union. Military reservists called up by the state. Miners brought in to dig tunnels under the reactor. Coal workers, construction workers, scientists, drivers, engineers. Some volunteered. Many did not have a choice that felt like a choice. When the state calls in the Soviet Union of 1986, you go. The rooftop liquidators are among the most written about. They were called bio-robots, a term that removes the person from the description in the specific way that military language sometimes removes persons from descriptions. Bio-robots, biological machines to replace the mechanical ones that failed. Each man went up once, 90 seconds. Some accounts say 2 minutes. Some say less than a minute, depending on the readings at the time. The time limit was enforced because in that time, in those conditions, the maximum permissible lifetime dose was reached. After 90 seconds, you had used up what the regulations said you were allowed to use up. You came down. Another man went up. They went up in shifts all day for weeks. Hundreds of men, each one for 90 seconds, each one carrying a shovel. Each one throwing debris off the roof and then coming back down and being done with it forever. You are one of them. You are 32 years old. You are a military reservist from Minsk. You have a wife and 2 daughters. You received your summons 3 weeks ago, and you reported as ordered, and you have been at the exclusion zone for 2 weeks, doing other work, moving toward this moment. Today is the moment. In this story, you are the liquidator. The ladder is in front of you. The shovel is in your hand. The colonel's briefing is still in your ears. You know what is up there. The knowing does not change what you are about to do. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Not a letter exactly. An official document. The kind that comes in a plain envelope with no return address, but that you recognize immediately from the paper and the format and the specific weight of it in your hand when you take it from the postbox. You know what kind of document uses this paper and this format. You have known since you were 18 and did your mandatory military service. Your wife is in the kitchen when you open it. She calls something to you from the other room. You do not hear the words. You are reading the document. It is short. Military documents tend to be short. The information is, you are required to report to the following location on the following date. The location is a military staging area outside Kiev. The date is 3 weeks away. There is no explanation. There does not need to be. Everyone in the Soviet Union knows about Chernobyl by now. The explosion was in April. It is June. 2 months of news that is not quite news, of official statements that say things without saying things, of rumors spreading through workplaces and apartment buildings, of relatives in Ukraine calling relatives in Russia, with their voices careful and their words chosen for the possibility that the line is monitored. You know what the summons is for. You fold it and put it in your shirt pocket. You go into the kitchen. Your wife is making dinner. Your daughters are at the table, doing their homework, the older one helping the younger one with something, their heads bent together over a notebook. The kitchen is warm. It smells of the soup that has been on the stove since afternoon. You sit down. You eat dinner. You tell her afterward, when the girls are in bed. She does not cry immediately. She's not a person who cries immediately. She reads the document herself, carefully, the way she reads everything carefully, and then she puts it on the table, and she looks at it for a moment. She says, "How long?" You say, "A few weeks, maybe more." They do not say. She nods. That night you lie awake for a long time, not from fear exactly. From something more complicated than fear. The specific feeling of knowing a difficult thing is coming and not being able to do anything about the knowing except wait for the thing to arrive. The Soviet state did not ask for volunteers, at least not primarily. It called up reservists, military men, men with technical training, men who were in the system and could be directed by the system. Some men tried to avoid the summons. Some succeeded. Most did not. The punishment for refusing was not discussed openly, but the culture of obligation was strong enough that most men who received the document simply went. They went for the same complicated reasons that people have always gone when their state told them to go. Duty, fear, the absence of a better option, the specific paralysis that comes from being inside a large institution and having no clear way out of it. The exclusion zone is not what you expected. You expected devastation. You expected the visual evidence of catastrophe. What you find instead, arriving by bus through the checkpoint at the 30-kilometer boundary, is something more unsettling than devastation. The zone looks almost normal. The fields are green. The roads are intact. The trees are in leaf. The villages you drive through have their houses standing, their gardens overgrown now but still recognizable as gardens, the sunflowers coming up by the fences, the fruit trees, heavy with fruit that nobody will pick. The absence of people is what makes it wrong. You understand intellectually that 350,000 people were evacuated. You knew this before you arrived. But knowing it and seeing it are different things. The village you pass through midway to the plant is a whole village. Houses, a school, a small shop, a well in the central square. All of it standing, all of it empty. A bicycle leaning against a house wall with flat tires. A child's shoe in the road. The bus does not stop. The work camp at the plant is military. Tents and temporary structures, organized with the specific logic of a large operation that has been running for months and has developed its own internal culture. Men everywhere, different uniforms, different backgrounds, different reasons for being here. Some are professional workers, engineers, and scientists with specific technical tasks. Most are reservists like you, men who received the document and reported. You are assigned to a tent with 11 other men. In the tent, you learn things, not from the briefings, which are formal and careful and tell you what they want you to know. From the other men who have been here longer and who talk at night when the officers are not around. You learn that the dosimeters are not always reliable. You learn that some men write down lower numbers than the dosimeter shows because the regulations say that when your cumulative dose reaches a certain level, you are sent home, and some men do not want to be sent home because being sent home means the work is left for someone else, or because going home with a high dose number creates problems, or simply because they have not yet done what they were sent to do. You learn that the roof is the hardest assignment, not the most dangerous in every sense. There are other dangerous places in the zone, but the roof has a reputation. 90 seconds with a shovel, the robots that failed, The briefing that tells you exactly how much you are giving and exactly how long you have to give it. You learn that your name is on the list for the roof. You do not ask to be removed from the list. The men in your tent come from everywhere. Oleg is from Vladivostok, a sailor brought in for no reason he has been told clearly. Gennady is a miner from the Donbass, here because the miners were needed for the tunnel operation under the reactor, and the tunnel is done, but he has been kept on. Sasha is a teacher from Rostov who has been doing perimeter patrol for 3 weeks and is counting the days until his rotation ends. They are all different, and they are all here for the same reason, which is that the state decided this work needed to be done and decided they were the ones to do it. You eat together, you play cards in the evenings, you talk about your families and your plans and the things you will do when you get home. You do not talk about the doses. The morning of the roof assignment begins like every other morning in the zone. Breakfast in the mess tent. Porridge and bread and tea, the same every day. The food of a military camp running on logistics rather than preference. You eat. The food has no taste this morning, or the taste is there and you are not registering it, your attention elsewhere. The protective equipment is issued after breakfast. The equipment is, given the circumstances, inadequate. This is something you understand clearly. The lead aprons and the masks and the protective suits provide some shielding against some types of radiation. They do not provide full protection against the levels on the roof. Everyone knows this. The equipment exists because wearing something is better than wearing nothing, and because it provides a degree of psychological preparation along with its partial physical protection. You put it on. It is heavy. Lead is heavy. The apron alone weighs several kilograms. The full suit adds more. Moving in it requires more effort than moving normally. You have been wearing variants of it for 2 weeks and your body has adapted to some extent, but the weight is always there, the reminder. The briefing is short. The colonel again. Same tent, same maps on the folding table, same economy of language. The roof of Unit 3 is your target. Unit 3 is the reactor adjacent to the ruined Unit 4. The debris from the Unit 4 explosion landed on Unit 3's roof during the blast and has been there since April. It must be cleared before the sarcophagus construction on Unit 4 can be completed. The robots failed. You are going up in shifts. Each shift is 90 seconds. Your dosimeter will tell you when 90 seconds have elapsed. When it tells you, you come down immediately. You do not stay to finish what you are doing. You come down. He pauses. He says, questions. Nobody has questions. The questions a person actually has in this situation are not the kind that get asked in a military briefing. You file out of the tent. The ladder is there. The ladder goes up the side of the building to an access point near the roof level. It is a standard industrial ladder, the kind you would find on any large building. Metal rungs bolted to the concrete wall. Other men have climbed it today already. You can see the marks of boots on the rungs. The men who went up before you came down. They are standing somewhere behind you, finished, their 90 seconds done, already becoming part of the count that the officers are keeping. How many up, how many down, how many more needed? The count continues until the roof is clear. It has been continuing for weeks. You grab the first rung. The metal is warm from the summer sun. July in Ukraine is hot. The days have been clear and bright, the kind of days that in any other context would be welcome. Summer days, the days that children are out of school for. In the zone, the clear days are worse than overcast ones because the dosimeters read higher in direct sunlight when the radiation scatters differently. You climb. There are perhaps 30 rungs to the access level. You count them without deciding to count them. The counting automatic, the way counting becomes automatic when you need something to do with your mind other than think about where you are going. 12, 13, 14. The ground gets further below you. The building gets taller above you. You are partway up the side of a reactor building on a July morning in the exclusion zone. You do not look down. Not from fear of heights. You are not afraid of heights. You do not look down, because looking down takes time, and time is already the most finite resource you have right now. At the top of the ladder, a handler takes your arm. He is one of the men who stays at the access level, who helps the workers on and off the roof. He has been doing this all morning. His face has the expression of a man performing a repetitive task with full awareness of its significance, which is an expression that is difficult to describe because most repetitive tasks do not have significance of this kind. He says, 90 seconds. When the dosimeter sounds, you come back here immediately. Do not wait. Do not finish what you're doing. Come back. You say, understood. He says, good luck. You step onto the roof. The dosimeter is clipped to the front of your suit. It is a small device, a cylinder the size of a pen, that measures the accumulated radiation dose you are receiving. It will sound when you reach the limit. You have been told it will sound. You have also been told by men in the tent, rather than by officers, that the dosimeters sometimes read inconsistently up here, that some men come down with lower readings than others who are in the same position for the same amount of time, that the device is not perfectly reliable. You decided in the tent last night that you will trust the device. When it sounds, you come down. You will not stay an extra 10 seconds to finish a shovelful. You will come down when it sounds. The roof is gray and flat and wrong. Not structurally wrong. Structurally, it is holding. The roof of Unit 3 is intact, which is why the debris from Unit 4 landed on it and stayed on it rather than crashing through. But it is wrong in the way of surfaces that have been covered with things that should not be there. Pieces of graphite, shattered concrete, metal fragments. The debris that the explosion 3 months ago threw across the distance between the two buildings and deposited here with the indifference of physics. You pick up the shovel. There was a shovel at the access point left by the previous man. Each man uses it and leaves it for the next. The handle is warm. Other hands today, other hands this week. You think briefly about the men whose hands have been on this handle before yours. You stop thinking about it. You move. The target area is about 15 meters from the access point. You have been told where to work. The section of roof closest to the edge where the debris can be thrown down into the collection area below. You walk toward it. The debris crunches under your boots. Some pieces are small, pebble-sized. Some are larger, irregular shapes of graphite and concrete that require stepping around. You reach the section. You put the shovel under the nearest pile of debris. You lift. The debris is heavier than it looks. Graphite is dense. The pieces that look the size of your fist weigh more than your fist. The shovel takes a proper load, and you swing it toward the edge, and you release, and the debris falls. You hear it land somewhere below. A sound of impact, dull and heavy. You go back for another load. The suit is hot. The July sun on the lead and the protective layers has been building heat since you put it on this morning. Sweat is running down your back. You can feel it, but you cannot do anything about it. You keep moving. Shovel, lift, throw, return. The motion is simple. The motion is the point. You are a machine performing a motion that the other machines could not perform. Shovel, lift, throw, return. The roof is the same gray, flat, wrong surface. The sky above you is very blue. It is a beautiful July sky. The kind of sky that you associate with childhood summers, with days at the river, with the particular freedom of being outdoors in summer when there is nowhere you have to be. The sky does not know what it is above. Shovel, lift, throw. Somewhere in the 45th second, you feel it. A warmth that is not from the sun and not from the suit. A warmth that is inside the suit, inside the skin, in the tissue. You have read about this. You have been briefed on this. The briefing described it as a possible sensation associated with high radiation exposure. Possible, they said, as if to suggest that some people feel it and some do not, and whether you feel it or not has no bearing on what the radiation is doing. You feel it. You keep moving. Shovel, lift, throw. You have 45 seconds left. The dosimeter sounds at 87 seconds. A high tone. Clear and unambiguous. You have been told what it sounds like, and it sounds exactly like what you were told. There is no mistaking it for anything else. The tone is designed to be unmistakable. Whoever designed it understood that the person hearing it would be in conditions where ambiguity was not useful. You stop. The shovel is mid-swing. You stop the swing. You set the shovel down against the edge wall. You look at the section you have been working on. There is debris remaining. There is always debris remaining. No one person in 90 seconds clears a section. The sections are cleared cumulatively, man by man, shift by shift, each person taking what they can take and leaving the rest for whoever comes next. You turn back toward the access point. Walking back is different from walking out. When you are walking out, you are moving toward a task, which gives movement a direction and a purpose. Walking back, you are moving away from the task, with the task unfinished, which is a feeling that every person who has ever had a job knows, but that in these specific circumstances has an additional quality. The handler is at the access point. He says nothing. He helps you to the ladder. His hand on your arm again, the same steadying grip as before. You put your foot on the first rung going down. You look at the roof behind you one more time. The section you worked on looks approximately the same as when you arrived. Some debris gone, more remaining. Another man will come up after you. Another 90 seconds. Another shovel load or two. The roof will be cleared eventually. This is the mathematics of the operation. Enough men, enough 90-second shifts, and the roof will be clear. The mathematics work. The mathematics require a very large number of men. You climb down, one rung at a time. You are done with the roof. The roof is not done. At the bottom of the ladder, your dosimeter reading is recorded by a man with a clipboard. He looks at it. He writes the number. He does not show it to you. This is standard. The numbers are for the record, for the administration, for the system that is tracking cumulative exposure across all the liquidators. Whether you ever see your own number depends on whether you ask and whether the person you ask is willing to tell you. You do not ask right now. Right now, you want to sit down. You sit against the wall of an outbuilding in the shade. Other men are there. Men who went up before you today, sitting in the same way in the same shade. You recognize Oleg from your tent. He went up 2 hours ago. He nods when he sees you. You nod back. This is the full extent of the conversation you have energy for right now. The warmth is still there, not stronger, not weaker, simply present. The same warmth inside the tissue that started on the roof and that has continued since. You have been trying, in the 40 minutes since you came down, to decide if the warmth is real or if you are imagining it because you were briefed that it was possible. You cannot decide. The warmth feels real. Feels. But the mind is capable of producing physical sensations from expectation, especially under stress. You are under stress. You cannot be certain. You drink water. The medical tent recommends drinking a great deal of water after exposure. You've been drinking steadily since you came down. The water is warm from the July heat. You drink it anyway. The afternoon passes. You are not sent up again. This is correct. Each man goes up once. That is the rule. The 90-second rule. The lifetime dose rule. You have had your 90 seconds. The system has recorded it. You are done with the roof. You will do other work tomorrow. There is always other work in the zone. Decontamination, soil removal, the 1,000 tasks that the operation requires. But not the roof. Never the roof again. You think about the 87 seconds. What you threw in, 87 seconds. 2, perhaps 3 shovel loads of debris. Each load landing in the collection area below. Each load a fraction of the total debris on the roof. Your contribution to the operation, measured in the weight of several shovelfuls of radioactive graphite, is small. You know it is small. The operation requires smallness from each person because it requires so many persons. You were one small contribution. Tomorrow another man will make another small contribution. The roof will be cleared. You think about Minsk. Your daughters will be out of school now. The older one has a summer job at the library this year, her first. The younger one is spending the summer at your parents' house in the countryside. Your wife is at work. The apartment is empty in the afternoons. On most days in the summer, you would have been home by now or arriving soon, and the older one would have been back from the library, and dinner would have been in progress. The afternoon is very long. Gennady comes and sits beside you in the late afternoon. He does not go up today. The miners are not on the roof rotation. Their expertise is for other things. He sits and smokes a cigarette, which is its own minor irony given where you are. And he asks how it was. You tell him. The heat of the suit, the weight of the shovel, the 87 seconds, the warmth in the tissue. He listens. He has been in the zone for 6 weeks. He has his own versions of all these stories. He says, the first time is the strangest. After that, it is just work. You say, what is the second time? He says, there is no second time, for the roof. Once. He says it the way you would say, obviously, the sky is blue, as if the onceness of it is so fundamental that explaining it would be strange. Time in the zone is different, not slower or faster, different in quality. The days have the same number of hours as days anywhere. The sun rises and crosses the sky and sets. The meals come at the scheduled intervals. The shifts rotate. But time feels different when you are in a place that has been removed from the normal flow of life, when the ordinary markers of time, the commute, the school run, the weekend, are absent and replaced by the markers of an operation that runs continuously, the same tasks repeated by different people, the zone unchanged day after day. The town of Pripyat is visible from parts of the camp. You have walked close to it twice, on perimeter assignments, the apartment block standing empty. 16-story buildings with dark windows, a shopping street with signs still up, a sports complex, a cultural center, all of it intact, all of it empty. The city frozen at the moment of evacuation, as if time stopped there in April and has not resumed. In one of the apartments, someone left a cat. You saw it on your second perimeter walk sitting in a window on the 4th floor, watching you. An ordinary gray cat, thin now, surviving somehow on whatever the evacuated city contained. It watched you with the focused indifference of cats. You watched it back. Then the perimeter route took you past and you did not see it again. You think about the cat. Why the cat, more than the empty buildings, more than the abandoned bicycles and the unwashed dishes and all the other evidence of sudden departure that you have seen in the zone? Perhaps because the cat was alive. Because the cat was currently existing in this place, in a way that the objects are not currently existing. The objects are just objects. The cat is managing. The zone has animals. They were not all removed in the evacuation. Pets left behind. Farm animals that escaped. Wild animals moving in from the forests as the human presence diminished. The zone is strange for many reasons, and one of them is that it is simultaneously the most contaminated place in Europe and a growing wildlife refuge. The animals do not read dosimeters. They live in the zone because the zone has food and water and no people. The radiation affects them in ways that scientists are studying and that are not yet fully understood. But they are there, living in the empty city, drinking from the Pripyat River. Moving through the forest, where the red pines died in the weeks after the explosion and were bulldozed and buried. A forest of dead trees, replaced over decades by new growth. Life continues. You are part of the effort to allow it to continue safely. This is what you tell yourself on the difficult days. There are photographs of the zone from this period. Official photographs taken by Soviet state photographers who were permitted inside the exclusion zone to document the cleanup operation. The photographs show men in protective gear working on various tasks. The photographs show the plant and the construction of the sarcophagus. They show the systematic, organized effort of a large operation responding to a large problem. What the photographs do not show is what the faces behind the masks are thinking, what the men in the tents are saying at night, what it costs a person to do this kind of work in this kind of place with this kind of knowledge. You write to your wife every few days. The letters are censored before they leave the zone. You know this. The officers do not say it directly, but it is understood. So the letters contain what you want to say, filtered through the awareness of what will be permitted to arrive. You write about the weather, which is genuinely good. You write about the food, which is genuinely adequate. You write that the work is important and that you are glad to be contributing. You do not write about the roof. You do not write about the warmth you still feel in your tissue 2 days later, which has not intensified, but has not gone away. You do not write about Oleg, who has been moved to the medical tent with symptoms that the doctors are calling non-specific and that everyone in the camp recognizes as specific. You do not write about the dosimeter numbers that some of the men are doctoring, the quiet, pragmatic dishonesty of people trying to stay in the work long enough to complete what they came to do. You write, I think about you and the girls every day. I think about coming home. This is true. It is also the most you can say. Her letters take 4 days to arrive. They come in batches, 2 or 3 at a time, and you read them in order, slowly, making them last. She writes about the girls. She writes about work. She writes about small things, the things that make up ordinary life, and the small things are the most important things in the letters because the small things are what ordinary life is made of, and ordinary life is what you are here for. In one letter she writes, I dreamed you came home early. You were standing in the doorway and I knew from the way you were standing that something had happened, but you were home and that was all that mattered. You read this 3 times. Then you fold the letter and put it in your jacket pocket, close to your chest, the pocket over your heart. You realize. This is not a thought you would normally have. You are not a sentimental man in the ordinary course of things. But the zone does something to the scale of sentiment. Small things become larger here. Letters become larger. The warmth of another person's words on paper becomes larger. You write back, I will be home soon. Save something from the garden for me. Your cumulative dose over the weeks in the zone is approaching the limit that the regulations set for the entire cleanup operation. When you reach the limit, you will be sent home. The limit is not a guarantee of safety. It is a threshold beyond which the regulations say the risk becomes unacceptable. Below the threshold, the risk is acceptable by regulation. The regulation does not consult the body about what is acceptable. The body will have its own view in the months and years after the zone. For some men, the dose accumulates without visible consequence for decades. For others, the consequences come sooner and more directly. There is no way to know at this threshold which kind you are. The sarcophagus is going up. You can see it from parts of the camp. The structure being built over Reactor Unit 4, the concrete and steel shell designed to contain what cannot otherwise be contained. It is enormous. The construction requires thousands of workers, operating in shifts, working in sections of the exclusion zone at varying distances from the reactor based on the radiation levels at each location. The closer to the reactor, the shorter the shift. The shorter the shift, the more workers required. You work on the outer sections, not the parts closest to the reactor. Your dose, from the roof and from other assignments, puts you in a category that keeps you further from the highest radiation areas. This is a relief. It is also a form of exclusion from the core of the work that is most critical and most costly. The men working closest to the reactor are spending their lifetime limit in days. Some of them do not last a full week before they are rotated out. The sarcophagus is built anyway. This is the thing about the operation that is most difficult to hold in your mind while you are in the middle of it. It works. The approach of sending people in small doses for small amounts of time and rotating them out and sending new people accomplishes what the robots could not accomplish. It is a brutal approach. It costs hundreds of thousands of people, a fraction of their radiation budget for a lifetime. It works. You pour concrete. You help position steel reinforcements. You move materials from one place to another. In the vast logistics chain of the operation, you are one small part of something that is, in its totality, one of the largest and most complex engineering operations in human history. You cannot see the totality from inside it. You see your part. Your part is small. Your part is necessary. The sarcophagus grows, slowly. Every day a little more. The skeleton of it becoming visible against the sky. The shape of the thing that will contain what April 26th created. You watch it go up. This is the other thing you are here for. The sarcophagus, built in 1986, was not intended to be permanent. It was built quickly, under pressure, to solve an immediate problem, to contain the radiation from the open reactor core, well enough to allow people to work in the surrounding area and to reduce the release of radioactive material into the atmosphere. It was always known to be temporary. The concrete cracked over the decades. It leaked. In 2016, 30 years after the explosion, a new containment structure, the new safe confinement, was completed and moved into place over the original sarcophagus. It is designed to last 100 years. After 100 years, another structure will be needed. The problem of Chernobyl does not end, it is contained. The containment requires continuous maintenance, continuous work, continuous commitment from whoever comes next. The bus out of the zone leaves on a Wednesday. Your rotation is complete. Your documents are processed. Your dosimeter readings are recorded in the system, the official record of what you received and what time doing what work. You are handed a certificate of participation. The certificate uses the word volunteer. You consider this for a moment, and then you fold the certificate and put it with your things. The men on the bus are quiet, not sad exactly. The quietness of people who have been in an intense situation and are leaving it. The specific decompression of departure from a place that required total presence. You have been in the zone for 5 weeks. You have been in the tent with Oleg and Gennady and Sasha and the others. You have eaten the same meals and done the work and gone up the ladder once and come back down and done other work and watched the sarcophagus grow. You do not say goodbye to the men from your tent. Not because you do not want to. The departures are staggered. Some men left last week. Some will leave next week. You happen to leave on a Wednesday and the men from your tent are not on your bus. You will write to Oleg. You think you will write to Gennady. Whether these intentions become letters is something you cannot know at this moment. The bus crosses the checkpoint, the 30-kilometer boundary. On the inside, the zone. On the outside, the normal world. The fields continue on both sides of the checkpoint. The same Ukrainian summer on both sides of the line. But the line means something. The line is the difference between inside and outside. You are outside. You lean your head against the window. The warmth in your tissue is still there. Fainter than it was, or you are noticing it less. Or you have simply adjusted to it, the way the body adjusts to persistent sensations. Moving them to the background, you do not know which of these is true. You think about the roof, 87 seconds, the blue sky, the shovel heavy in your hands, the tone of the dosimeter, the sound of the debris falling to the collection area below. You think about the other men who went up, hundreds of them. The men who went up before you and after you, each one for their 90 seconds. Each one leaving the roof a little cleaner than it was. The aggregate of all those 90 seconds, added together, clearing the roof over weeks. The aggregate of all those doses, taken together, distributed across hundreds of bodies. You were one of them. This is the thought you hold as the bus moves through the Ukrainian summer. You were one of them, and the roof is clear now, and you are going home. A note of history. The liquidators were the workers who cleaned up after the Chernobyl disaster. Between 1986 and 1990, approximately 600,000 people served as liquidators, though estimates vary. They came from all 15 Soviet republics. Some were volunteers. The majority were military reservists, called up by the state who received official summonses and reported as ordered. The rooftop liquidators, known informally as bio-robots, were tasked with clearing radioactive debris from the roof of Reactor Unit 3, the building adjacent to the destroyed Unit 4. The debris, primarily graphite and other material from the exploded reactor core, had landed on the Unit 3 roof during the explosion and had to be removed before the sarcophagus construction on Unit 4 could be completed. Robots were deployed first. The Soviet Union used German and Japanese robots as well as its own designs. The radiation levels on the roof, estimated at up to 10,000 Röntgen per hour in some sections, destroyed the electronics of every robot sent. The robots stopped working. Human workers were then used instead. Each worker was permitted a single shift on the roof, lasting approximately 90 seconds. In this time, they received the maximum radiation dose considered acceptable for a lifetime of work in nuclear environments. They worked with shovels, moving debris to the edge of the roof and throwing it down. After 90 seconds, they descended and were replaced by the next worker. The operation continued for weeks, involving several thousand workers in total. The long-term health effects on liquidators have been extensively studied and remain a subject of ongoing research and political debate. The Soviet government and later Russian authorities have been criticized for underreporting the doses received by liquidators and for failing to provide adequate medical follow-up. Many liquidators report a range of health problems in the years following their work. Some of these are clearly attributable to radiation exposure. Others are more difficult to categorize definitively. The affected population is large and geographically dispersed, which complicates epidemiological study. The dosimeters issued to many liquidators were inadequate for the radiation levels in the zone. Some read to a maximum of 3.6 Röntgens per hour and went off scale immediately in high contamination areas, providing no useful information. Workers in some areas were given readings that did not accurately reflect their actual exposure. There is evidence that official dose records were sometimes adjusted downward, either by the workers themselves trying to remain on assignment or by administrators trying to manage the official statistics. The sarcophagus, officially called the object shelter, was completed in November 1986, approximately 7 months after the explosion. It enclosed the ruined reactor in concrete and steel to reduce radiation release and allow work to continue in the surrounding area. It was built quickly under difficult conditions and was always understood to be temporary. The structure began to deteriorate within years of construction. The new safe confinement, a larger arched structure built by an international consortium, was completed in 2016 and moved into place over the original sarcophagus. It is designed to last at least 100 years. The exclusion zone around the plant has an area of approximately 2,600 square kilometers. It remains largely uninhabited. Over the decades since the evacuation, wildlife has returned in significant numbers to the zone. Brown bears, wolves, lynxes, horses, and many bird species now inhabit the area. Scientific studies of the zone's ecology have produced conflicting results, some finding significant radiation-induced damage in wildlife, others finding surprisingly robust populations. The zone has become an unintentional rewilding experiment. The most contaminated nature reserve in the world, the city of Pripyat, built to house plant workers and their families, remains abandoned inside the exclusion zone. Its 49,000 residents were evacuated on April 27, 1986, the day after the explosion, told to take only what they needed for 3 days. They did not return. The city's buildings are decaying, overtaken by vegetation. The amusement park, which was scheduled to open for May Day celebrations on May 1, 1986, never opened. The Ferris wheel stands rusted and still. It has become one of the most recognized images of the disaster. Next, the Pripyat resident.